Al, what about you? Do you have a nightmare example, a nightmare case involving workers' compensation that you could share with us?
Sure, absolutely. Picture someone who was a dedicated worker, someone who loved their employer, loved working for them, had an injury on the job. Thought it was a minor injury initially, like many people do. They come home, they think maybe I'm going to do some bed rest and heat or take a shower, maybe that'll help, maybe some over-the-counter medications. Doesn't necessarily report it immediately because they did not realize how serious the injury was going to be. In time, however, it started getting worse. And because there is a 30-day notice requirement, generally speaking, in workers' comp, when she eventually got to the point where she had to say something, this is going on more than I thought it was going to be, the 30 days had expired. So what ended up happening was the employer denied the case, not because they didn't believe she had an injury, but because she did not report it within 30 days. Now picture then an employer who has a light duty program available for people injured on the job, but only offer it to injured people, but in this particular case, they denied the case, saying it wasn't work-related because she didn't give notice.
So they didn't offer her the
light duty program, correct.
They fought her completely.
Correct. And what ultimately ended up happening is it caused essentially years of litigation, because not only did it go through trial, but it went through appeal. We were successful in the outcome, but for that poor injured worker, imagine going through with no compensation, no wages, because they eventually let her go because she could not go back to full duty work because of an injury that should have been classified as a workers' comp claim, but they weren't even offering a position because they only reserve those for work-related injuries.
How could that happen? Years of litigation, and then ultimately all the hardships that the worker goes through. How could that happen in today's environment, where obviously the employer knew this lady was injured, but they're relying on a technicality?
Sure. Let me clarify one thing. The one thing that has changed with workers' comp, and Glenn and I have seen many, many changes over the years, is they have tried to streamline the process. So technically, when we file a claim, by statute, under most circumstances, we're in front of a judge within 7 months. That's pretty...
7 months sounds a long time to me.
Yeah. I mean, it can be very distressful and financially distressing for folks. But when you add the trial and the success at trial, and then you add the appeal, that's where you're looking at over several years' time, because it does take a while to get through the appellate process.
So the moral of that story is notify your employer immediately.
Absolutely. And you know, most people don't have 7 months worth of living expenses put aside. I know Dave Ramsey would love to have them have that, but they probably don't. And the reality is they're going to end up losing everything. And the stories Al and I are telling, these are not unusual. These are very, very common. They happen every day.
So I think what I'm learning from you guys as specialists in workers' compensation is when you have an injury, it's absolutely important. Absolutely, I mean, no questions about it. You need to report it, no matter whether you fear retaliation, you fear losing your job. You've got to report it, because the ramifications could be very significant if you don't.
Absolutely.
No question about it.